Hi everyone, it's Kimberly and I have your November reading. This is for Collective Twin Flames for the month of November. I have my November forecast, which is a channeled message that I do every single month that's going out soon. If you catch this video and it's already gone out, you can always catch the repost. I always do it on the Facebook page like about a day after it goes out. So it's facebook.com/spiritualmaterialgirl. If you want to sign up for my monthly newsletter with the channel message, channel forecast, you can do so on spiritualmaterialgirl.com. Scroll to the bottom, enter your email address. So in this channeled message, I really address collective themes. I think they do apply individually to the twin flames, but they also apply to everyone in the collective at this time. Some of the shifts that we're going through this month. Some of the big things that we have happening is a Mercury retrograde. We have the 1111 gateway, and that is followed right after by the full moon in Taurus. So we're looking at a bunch of themes here related to what I feel, what I've channeled as this sort of reaching the threshold of what we can take that's not in alignment for us. So this really feels like an internal revolution that gets externalized. So I really feel like the internal environment, desires, fantasies start to match up with the external, and this is by your doing. So this means you're taking action in some way. And for each person, as you listen to this message, as you read my channeled message, it's going to mean something different. But what it really feels like, it's not a revolt. There's no resistance. I don't get a sense of resistance. It just feels like a new level of practicality. So we think about the Taurus full moon bringing us groundedness, practicality, maybe a bit of stubbornness. This is all good because there's a new way of being practical is what I'm being shown. And this new way of being practical is not about being, calculated, pragmatic, logical, staying with what's safe, playing it safe, or placating other people. I feel like we're really moving away from the placating of other people and situations and moving into what is best for self. And oh my gosh, I can't waste another minute not walking in alignment with what I really feel on the inside. So what's been happening for a while is that a lot of you have recognized the desires. They're fully realized from within. You may even be spending time in dream state or in like daydreaming or envisioning, meditation, thinking about what you desire, what you want to manifest. You may even be halfway there, meaning you've already taken half the steps or some of the steps or baby steps. But I still feel like there's this frustration in the collective. Like, how do I mesh the inner world with the outer world? Or like, I already know, I've already made up my mind internally, but how do I do it externally? And so a lot of what I talk about in the newsletter is how we do this, what this means, what the turning points are, and so on and so forth. So please check that out if you get some time, because it's chock filled with information, specific dates, and I'm sure some of this will come up throughout this reading. I'll find myself probably channeling some of the same messages throughout, but this reading in particular is really about twin flames, twin flame unions, twin flame romance, twin flame couples, twin flame reunions, twin flames as individuals, divine feminine, divine masculine. And what I want you to understand is that the 1111 that we have a lot of, every November, we have quite a bit of number sequences that come in that show us that 111 pattern or that 1111 pattern. There's 1129, there's 111, there's 1111, and last year we had an 11 year, so it was like 11 11 11. So many of you ask, like, what does this mean? It's not just a twin flame thing, you guys. It's just not. And 1111 is an awakening call. It's for collective consciousness. It is an awakening sort of like recognition sign. I can tell you that long before there was a whole uprising of twin flames, back when I was like in my late teens and early 20s, I was looking up information on 1111 and I was seeing it everywhere. And this was more than well over 2 decades ago. So this is something that is not a new phenomena and is not only related to twin flames. Okay. But I think it's equated to, the number sequence is equated to awakening and to shifts in consciousness, and to this being a confirmation and sort of an alert and an awareness sign that you are awakening. You are part of this shift. You are part of this. You are part of the light workers, the star seeds, the twin flames, however you identify label-wise, to leading or pioneering this shift. And it's the work that you do on yourself that does help humanity. And then it's the work that you do to get on your mission and to help others and to serve others as you heal and align, that helps humanity and helps others even further, and helps really push the awakening even further, right? Because now you're spreading your light. You're not just shining it and having it rub off. Now you're like really spreading it and influencing, which you are a pioneer in that case. So that is what the 1111 sequence is. So 1111, when we see it, that's what it is. Okay. So we can find the duality of meaning with the twin flames, like 1-1 being, the masculine, the feminine energy, the 1111, or like, the two singles creating one. And I recognize that, and I acknowledge all of that. This 1111 gateway that we have is another, it's not just an opportunity, but it is another shift in consciousness. So basically we're going to go through another massive shift in consciousness. And I feel like this is just to push things forward again. And I feel many of you being affected by this, but in a really positive way. This means changes are going to start to occur between now and the eclipses, or between now and the winter solstice. Definitely before the solar eclipse. A lot of change is going to come in motion that you are going to actually initiate. And you might say, well, doesn't that usually come during the eclipses? Well, yeah, but I think the eclipses are just going to help kind of accelerate everything this year, like in December and January. I don't think they're going to be the starting point for the change. I think a lot of the shifting starts right now with this 1111 gateway. And between now and the winter solstice, I've been saying this. So what is it about our inner world and our outer world matching up that creates such a big shift in the collective? Well, it means that more people are living in authentic alignment. That is all your authenticity is, right? I have a quote in my newsletter from Teal Swan, and she's talking about what is authenticity. It is like basically the reconciling of the incongruences of the inner and outer self. That's it. That's what it is. It's getting the inner world to match the outer world. It's getting the outer world to match the inner world. And so I think there's still some duality, residuals of duality that are remaining, and it's not, you're probably not looking at it like duality. You're probably looking at it like lack of manifestation, but I'm looking at it as duality, because what it's showing me is there's this in-between worlds, right? There's this fantasy world, and then there's this reality. And then there's this recognized desire, and then there's this physical reality, or the lack of that desire being present in this physical reality. And then there's this, decisiveness. And then there's this, I don't know how to do this in the real world, right? So so all of the things from within feel decisive. It feels like a knowing. It feels like a visualizing. It feels like a fantasizing. It feels good. It feels known, and it feels connected to your inner wisdom, your truth, your higher self, your divinity. Stuff in the outer world isn't all reconciled just yet, right? So there's still that gap. So how do we close that gap? I talk a lot about this in the newsletter. So I think that these are the themes that we're working on at this time. And you're going to see a lot of the closing of this gap and the starting to initiate this so that we become better manifestors and we start walking in our authenticity. Now, the more twin flames that are walking around in authentic alignment, more connected to their divinity, their higher self, their truth, getting out of these situations in which no longer serve them, that do not feel good, in which their inner world matches their outer world. Wow, wow, wow. Now we create the platform for unions and harmonization and reunions. Some twins that haven't met yet will meet. So how does this all transpire, and what does it look like for the divine feminine and the divine masculine at this time? So I've pulled a simple spread. I'll probably pull more cards as we go, but this is feminine on my left and masculine on my right. So what I want to say before I flip the cards is just, when you listen to these readings, like, remember, like, I'm not just reading the feminine females and the masculine males. I'm reading the feminine energy and the masculine energy within all of us. And you may identify more with the feminine energy, or the feminine as being your more predominant energy, or the masculine being your, no matter what your sex, or the masculine being your more predominant energy. And when in healthy balance, we have a more accurate gauge of what is the predominant energy from within us. When we're in a fear-based energy, it's harder to tell which is the more dominant force within us. But for whatever it is, just keep resonating with whatever you're resonating with. And remember that when you receive these messages, this can also apply to not just like if you identify with one or the other, but also like that piece within you, that aspect of the feminine or masculine within yourself. Okay. So I do feel like I'm going to have a lot of collective messages, and I may also get some specific messages for those of you who are listening or tuning in. So stay tuned. I may call out specifics and it may pertain to you. All right, so for the feminine, we have the Eight of Wands in reverse. And for the masculine, it's the Six of Cups in reverse. And they showed me to pull the Lovers Tarot cards. So we have Princess of Arrows underneath the Six of Cups for the masculine, and Two of Cups under the Eight of Wands for the feminine. So everything's in reverse, you guys can see. So we're working on some things here. We're struggling to master some things here. Let's look at, I have goosebumps already. How does this happen? Let's look at the feminine first. So let's look at the Eight of Wands when it's upright. Okay, so here we see this is like what I see as a portal or a gateway. And I feel like this is her sort of having the tools to walk through the door to move into the next phase of life, but still she's sort of doubting it. There's this fear that if she makes the change or she makes the leap, that the world, her outer world, will change so much that it will, I think she's thinking that it'll destroy the chance of this type of a union. Okay. This, to me, we have seen the Two of Cups recently in a recent reading that I did, and I feel like this is really about coming together on an even playing field. This is sort of that, and what it looks like in the background here is like after sort of the storm or the destruction, it's finding one another and it's starting anew. It's starting with a new agreement, it feels like, and starting anew. This could be meeting someone new, or it could be just starting anew with someone from the past, or twin flame who's coming back from the past. But how I feel these two cards are connected is, feminine, you have to remember that your personal path is lighting the way for everything else in your life, for connection, for love, for romance. And that if you could just walk through the portal. And for me, this card signifies a number of things for the feminine. And so what's coming through is discipline, focus, belief, faith. Okay, so those 4 things in that order is how they're channeling it to me. So I don't even know if I can remember what I just said. Discipline, focus, belief, and faith. So you're needing the discipline to keep doing what you're doing, to keep going on your individual path, and the focus to keep focusing on your mission, which I feel like your mission and what you desire in life is ever changing, and it should be at this point. It's not going to be one constant thing. It's going to keep taking new shapes, and it's going to keep revealing it to you more and more. It's not just like, oh, we have one mission and then that's it. I mean, you guys, look how many times I've rebranded or added something new to what I do, and I'm already seeing like there's a whole new phase to my mission as well, with what I've been going through from a health perspective, and new things being shown to me, new ideas coming in. So it's about working with those new ideas and keep developing them, keep focusing, keep the discipline going, keep walking through to the next step, to the next phase. Don't get stagnant. Don't stop moving. Doesn't mean you have to run or race. It just means keep moving forward. And I think what keeps you doing that sometimes, or where there's like a start-stop energy, is just that lack of belief and faith. And there's a deep-seated fear, which feels like, oh, if I change my world too much, I won't have anyone, or I'll lose it all, or there'll be a lack, or or I'm afraid to go too much out on my own, or advance too much, or go too far up the ascension ladder because, oh, how will my twin ever find me? How will they ever catch me? Well, maybe I'll just distract myself and keep myself lower. Or maybe I'll just keep attaching to the outer things that don't match my inner world. But see, that's the thing. We can't do that anymore. We have to keep going. We have to keep moving. We have to keep walking through to the next portal, to the next portal, to the next gateway. Keep pursuing the passions. Keep pursuing and disciplining ourselves to keep the steady focus on the things that make us happy, the things we desire to do, the way we're shedding our light and shining our light in the world. This is how we hold the torch for these unions and for these reunions. Okay? It's not about hanging on to some idea of what, union is. It's about advancing on your own path and letting this show up for you. Okay? It's just going to show up. It's going to show up as you keep advancing on your own path. So let's see what the advice cards are for the feminine. So we have be willing to forgive in reverse, and twin flame. Okay, so we have the twin flame and be willing to forgive. So this is I feel like what this is saying is, this is for some of you, it's a twin flame who's coming back in. It's a renewal, and there's something from the past that's needing to be forgiven. It's you're changing, you're evolving, you've been evolving as an individual, and to hang on to the same stuff, the resentments and things from the past, is not going to serve you. But plus, what they're trying to say also is like your twin flame is also changing and has been changing and has been evolving. And there's this needing to forgive and release past resentments, the fear within us. Maybe forgiveness not just for your twin flame, but for all of those in your life. But forgiveness is nothing more than the ending of separation, okay? And in order to end separation, we must heal and resolve the fear within us. We can't just tell ourselves to forgive, and we can't talk ourselves into forgiveness. Forgiveness comes as a natural byproduct of the process of shifting from fear to love. And how do we do that? We have to go to the root. We have to heal. We have to integrate. We have to learn how to own our pain. We have to learn how to come back into alignment with ourselves. If you guys need tools for that, come to coaching with me, journeying sessions, intuitive guidance. I have courses for you, online courses, whatever you need. I have tools for you. But This is, I feel like, speaking to a lot of the couples who've done some or a lot of the work, maybe still have some fragments or pieces left to tweak. And there are some resentments that feel like are coming back into these connections when they show up again. And they're saying, you've got to let it go. You've got to be able to let that go. So start working now to resolve that behind the scenes. The piece of you that thinks the outcome will be the same, or thinks that you'll get hurt again, or isn't believing, or isn't having faith. Remember, you're not showing up the same. You're showing up different. When you show up more evolved, when you show up more healed, there's going to be a different outcome. If you keep believing that the same fear-based outcomes are going to keep repeating themselves, then guess what's going to happen? They will. Your fears will manifest. That's the law of attraction. So I really love this, and I feel like this belongs together, and this might be specific for some of you who might have some like unions or reunions coming up here in the near future. So remember how far you've come on your individual path. Keep going. Release the resentments. Start anew. Be open to starting anew, because I feel for many of you like a harmonious union could be possible if we could get past this, if we can get past these grievances, these resentments within ourselves. It starts from within you. Don't look to the twin flame to resolve that for you. That twin flame isn't going to provide the peace and the release from fear that you will provide for yourself. It's not about trusting the other person. It's about, do you trust yourself? Do you trust your own judgment? Are you walking in alignment with your integrity? Are you still able to keep a focus on your own path and yourself while you give effort and energy to this relationship? How are your boundaries? How are you showing up to this relationship differently so that you know for sure that there's a different outcome? Right? Because it wasn't just about what the twin flame did to you in the past. I feel like these grievances are tied to all the roots of your fear and everything that's happened to you in your life, and all the baggage you brought in also, not just your twin. Okay? All right, so for the masculine, I'm going to move these back just so we see this cohesively. So for the masculine, we have the Six of Cups in reverse, and let's look at this upright. So Six of Cups, we see, like, I feel like this is the pie in the sky. You know, this is, you know, we can see it. We can see where we want to go. This is what I'm talking about. This is the outer world. And then there's this sort of, you know, getting there. And I feel like there's this inner world needing to match that outer world. And I think that's a lot of what the masculine's working on. And it's interesting, too, because the Princess of Eros is represented by Psyche. And Psyche is really like that inner knowing of in our mind, versus I feel like the inner knowing of our intuition. And I feel like this is about the masculine knowing what he wants, like knowing who his beloved is, knowing what the pie in the sky looks like for him, you know, what that dream world looks like, what that thing that he wants to achieve looks like. He knows this, but still there's this disjunct of how to get there, how to manifest it. There's still a bit of feeling stuck. There's still a bit of stagnancy. So let's see what the advice cards say. It's third eye chakra and mediumship. So this is really talking about the masculine's ability to tap into his psychic abilities and his inner knowing. And this is what I'm saying. This feels like a battle between a mental state and an intuitive knowing. And the thing that's holding him apart is the belief. And I also feel like he's having a hard time. Like, this is kind of what I channeled in the November forecast. He's having a hard time going, how do I turn these fantasies into reality? And I'm calling them fantasies because it's almost like we're too entrenched in the visualization. Like, visualization is a tool for manifestation. When we get caught into only fantasizing, only visualizing, and feeling like when we open our eyes, there's a lack of in the physical. That's not healthy visualization. That's called fantasizing, romanticizing, and then feeling stuck in lack in the now. So in my newsletter, like I told you guys, I talk a lot about how we can shift out of that. I give you like 3 or 4 useful tips. I'm not going to get into it too in depth here, but I want to say that this is what the masculine's struggling with. How do I create that from the knowing that I have, and the knowing what I want, and the knowing that I can have it? But why do I feel so stuck in the logical steps to take in the how to achieve it? So that's what he's working on, balancing that right now. And a lot of this just is going to be dependent on him starting to walk in line with his inner knowing and not being afraid to do so, and not being afraid to reach for the pie in the sky, and not being afraid to say, I don't know, this isn't logical, I just know that this is what I want. This is really about him going after what he wants, and this is really about him going after what he wants from a psychic knowing, okay, rather than a logical, well, how do I do this? This is going to be hard, or these are the steps, strategy I need to. There's this feeling of like no longer needing to plan or strategize, just moving with it, just going with the impulses. And that's something that the masculine's going to be working on, especially in November. I do feel like he knows who his beloved is, or if you haven't met your twin flame yet, like for some of you might have been with false twins and have a real twin coming in, or some of you might be finding this video and just feel like a twin flame's on your radar. There's still a knowing that your twin flame is out. There's a big awareness and psychic connection between you and your twin at this time. And if you are twin flames who already know each other and are in separation, feel like a huge psychic connection, like really, really mounting in the early part of November. And so this might bring forth also physical communication and meetings from the midpoint of November onward, which is really positive for unions, reunions, so on and so forth. So the combined energy is the High Priestess, and then we have underneath that the Eight of Swords. So this is about saying we need to let go of some things from our past in order to come into our power and feel that confidence to move forward. And we've got the Knight of Cups. So this is again about having the resources to walk through the gateway. The only thing really standing in our way is the past, is the resentments, is the fear that's holding us apart from our power. This is very connected to our psychic knowing too, like knowing what's right from us at a divine level, our wise knowing. Following that, having the confidence to follow that. And so the Eight of Swords, like this reminds me of sort of this be willing to forgive card for the feminine. There's a sense of needing to release things that have happened in order to create new outcomes. And let's see if we can get more clarity on that. I'm gonna go grab another deck. I'll be right back. Okay, so let's get more clarity on this. What does this mean for the feminine and the masculine? Wow. Cards are flying. Oh, okay, so I feel like this is for the masculine expansion in reverse. So I think maybe this is and this is void for the feminine. All right, so look at this. For the masculine, it's expansion. Okay, this is about growth, progress, So I feel like he's just afraid. He's just afraid of, there's a fear of going too big, of expanding too far, of making his world bigger. There's a lot of fear around that. He doesn't realize he's blocking himself, but he is. But I do feel like he will overcome this. And this could be from belief systems of like, when I've made progress from the past, someone else has like sabotaged it, or I've sabotaged my own growth for the masculine. Many of the masculine could be self-sabotage. And that could be because of things in his upbringing or wounding, programming, and or it could be just like this feeling of being held down or held back by outside forces, feeling like he hasn't been free enough. Freedom keeps coming up, like where he's not free enough to expand in the way that he wants. And I think like listening to this inner psychic knowing and awareness is like really sparking his curiosity towards his own expansion. You know, he sees it, he knows what he wants, he knows where he wants to go, but there's a fear. And so I feel like for many that are listening to this, the masculine has self-sabotaged, or there's been someone, it feels like another masculine force, maybe like a father, someone who held him back, a boss, someone who's been sabotaging him, who's been holding back his success. It definitely feels like a masculine energy squashing a masculine energy. So it's either masculine self-sabotaging, or it's like an outside force masculine who's been, or the idea or notion of an outside masculine, someone from the past who's held him back, right? And this is the connection to the past. So we have to understand, if you're a masculine listening to this, or if you're listening to this for your masculine or your inner masculine, this is no longer, this was the past. You are free to grow. You are free to progress. You are free to achieve your pie in the sky, to reach for it and attain it. You are free to expand. Good things come when you expand. Progress comes, not disappointment. Okay, remember that. And for the feminine, we have this swords card connected to void. So this is like feeling the loss, feeling hurt, feeling empty, feeling the lack of things showing up, feeling that loneliness, that void. Why do I have to go through this alone? Why am I going it alone? Not feeling fulfilled from within. And see, this is what we're working on here. This is why this individual path, the discipline, the focus, you know, these steps that we're making forward on our own path are so important to showing back up to the table in this connection, fulfilled from within. Because then it creates a new outcome. You're no longer showing up to a connection from a place of void, trying to create love and connection and, you know, a romantic harmony. You're showing up from a place of fulfillment. So it automatically creates a new outcome, you see? Let's pull some advice cards from the Sonia Choquette Ask Your Guides deck. So for the masculine and feminine, clarifying more about the energies in November. Spirit, show us what both the feminine and the masculine need to know at this time. Okay, so we're getting devotion for the feminine. We've got two cards popped up together, prosperity guides and compromise for the masculine. So it's deprivation and compromise over here. So I think this is talking about, I think the feminine is still devoted to her twin flame, or to the connection, or to the notion that there's someone out there that can serve as an equal or a partner. She believes it, But this is about how she clears the blocks within her to show up with that devotion without it being tainted, without it being overgiving or giving too much of herself, or without it being tainted by fear, resentment, or without her holding back. There is this devotion too that's coming through from her partner, I feel. Like, no matter what's happened, despite what's happened, there's still this devotion to one another. And it's strong and it's present. And I'm sure some of you can feel it now, because it feels like energy that's rising and will be building or mounting as we come into the midpoint of November. For the masculine, where 2 cards had flipped, is deprivation and compromise. And so the deprivation is, a lot of times pointing to, prosperity or finance. But I feel like this is really about that self-sabotaging the growth or expansion, what we just saw here. This is where he's depriving himself of the pie in the sky. He's telling himself it's going to be hard, or it's not possible, or in the past, like, he sabotaged himself. Like, he's afraid of that success. He's afraid of it. There's a fear around it. And again, this could be coming from a masculine aspect that was in his past. Someone that told him he couldn't do it. Someone that held him down or kept him from being free, or told him, or maybe kept him burdened with responsibility. Or maybe it's the programming that kept him thinking, I have to do this, or I have to live this way, or I need to sacrifice for others to do the right thing. But he's just realizing that that type of deprivation is not working. Like, he's going to live his own happiness, and he has a right to do that. So I feel like the compromise right now is actually with himself. I feel like he's compromising with the shadow aspect of himself. And this is something that he's learning to balance, because that aspect has had the greater pull until now. When it came to negotiating his growth and expansion, that aspect had the hold on him. That aspect of self-sabotage or lack thinking or telling him he couldn't. And now he's finding a way to say, look, I'm going to follow this guidance. I can still be practical and logical and, be responsible, but I'm going to allow myself pleasure. I'm going to reach for the pie in the sky. I'm going to go after what I want. I'm going to allow myself the forward motion and progress that I've been denying myself without even realizing it. Like, literally, a lot of these masculine, whether you're a masculine listening or you're just listening to this, for the masculine in your life, a lot of masculine have not realized how much and to what level they've been self-sabotaging. So allowing yourself, this is about allowing yourself the feel goods, allowing yourself your truth, allowing yourself your own freedom. Okay? And I feel like things are going to work out for you as you do that. Your guides will open up doors. Things will start to naturally balance. The people in your life who you've been maybe obligated to or serving, that you have been depriving yourself because of, maybe giving to them, filling their wallets, filling their needs, but depriving of your own. This is where, when you take back that power and you say, I deserve to go after what I want. I know what it is I want. I deserve the pie in the sky. I'm going to allow myself to expand and grow. I allow myself to have it. This is where others will start to work with you, around you. They're going to follow you in your power. And it's scary. Of course it is, especially if we've been not in that power. Or especially if we have found many, many, many reinforced beliefs that have showed us, well, when we try to expand or when we try to grow, it doesn't work out for us, right? Because we're thinking it's going to be that same outcome. This is different. This is a new alignment that the masculine striking. So kind of put that over here. So let's look at the bottom of the decks. So this is intuition at the bottom of the Ask Your Guides deck. So again, this is just the intuitive knowing. This is knowing the devotion and the connection for the feminine. It's, following the guidance for the masculine. The bottom of the Christina Georgieva Universal Oracle card deck is protection. So all is well. You're safe. Like, you are safe to walk through the portal, to walk through the doorway, to keep following your truth. You are safe to reach for the pie in the sky. You are safe to do this. All is well. You are protected. You are guided. Oh, I have a low battery warning. Sorry, you guys. So you are protected. You are guided. Okay. And let's see. Bottom of the Star Child Tarot is the Nine of Wands. This again feels like something that you've been setting up for a while that's going to be coming to fruition. And they're saying you've built this, you have the resources, it's physicalizing, it's going to be physicalizing. You have the power to bring it into physical reality. Don't sabotage it. This is something that I feel like you guys have been working hard on. Now it's just about balance, belief, trust, not sabotaging, not standing in our own way. And also pulling the pieces of, our healing, the final pieces of our healing, and some of the things that are still out of balance from within, pulling that into alignment, maybe doing a little more work from within. And then the bottom of the Lover's Tarot is Judgment. So it's really feels like this is about, it's all working out. Kind of feels like this. All is well, all is safe. Okay. We also see the masculine coming to the feminine, which I do feel that too. I feel like the masculine's coming to the feminine, making a gesture, pointing his arrow, saying, this is what I want, or there's some communication here. She comes and meets him halfway. But I do feel like this could be some news that's coming. But it's also something that's reminding us, could be signs and things like that, that's reminding us that all is in divine order. Everything's playing out as it should, okay? Everything's happening in divine timing, okay? But you're going to push things forward through another threshold over the next few months. And the bottom of the Angel Therapy deck is Parents. So this is probably some of that shadow stuff. Like with the masculine, it kept feeling like it was his father. Feminine, it could be either one of your parents, like the parental wounds, the childhood wounds, that are still maybe keeping you stuck in non-forgiveness or pain associated from your upbringing. Maybe these are the aspects that you bring into your romantic relationships or other relationships that are still calling to be healed. Okay, so look at this stuff. Don't resist looking at it. If you've already done it once and you still feel like you've got fears and doubts and insecurities, keep going. Go deeper. Find more tools. Find new teachers. Because this stuff takes a while. It's layers, and you're ready for it in layers. So don't think I just did it once and that's it. Isn't it done yet? It doesn't work like that. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope it's helpful. If you guys want to work with me in private session, you can book sessions on my website, spiritualmaterialgirl.com. Don't forget, over the next month or so, I still have the 2020 prediction readings up. So it's a special reading at a special rate. And it's half an hour. And we look into your entire year forecast, your personal year forecast for 2020. So you can book all of that online. I love you guys, and I will see you soon. Happy November. Bye.